Hey guys, Board now back with you, and on this video I will be reviewing another new Netflix show. So this is going to be my thoughts on the first episode of Control Z or Z, whichever one you fancy, and it's season 1 episode 1 and it is called Birthday Girl. I'm actually not sure why it's called Birthday Girl based on the episode. I don't remember it being anyone's birthday or any reference to a birthday, but maybe I missed something. So this is a new Mexican drama. It's a Netflix original, and the whole series went up today. The whole of the first series, there's like 8 episodes. And they're all reasonably short. I think the average is about 35 minutes, something like that. So again, it's one of those where it's pretty bingeable if obviously you get into it and you like what it's doing. It's not going to take you long to get through it. So it's a high school based drama, I'd say, basically sort of like a soap type thing, but with a mystery element. And the kind of like hook of it is then there's a hacker, and that's the mystery in this high school. So in this episode you get this big assembly event where like the teacher or headmaster, whichever is playing this video, and suddenly it's taken over by the hacker, and 2 of the popular kids in the school, you have Isabella and her boyfriend, I forget his name actually, but they're in like this relationship, and there's secrets that are revealed that basically can damage them, and it uncovers like a dark secret sort of thing. And from this you get all sorts of dramas around them and their friends at school. And so the main character is Sophia, and she takes it upon herself to try and investigate. So she starts questioning the students and trying to get to the bottom of things. And she's kind of drawn in by this new kid in school, Javier, who's sort of kind of grouped up with her, like they were partnered together in class, and he's been hanging around her ever since, and they kind of hit it off, but he helps her trying to investigate. So that's the basic setup. So it looks as though it's going to be about the mystery of who the hacker was, and also just the drama with the individual students. So basic setup. And did I like it? No, I didn't like it. I thought it was really awful. Very sort of bland, typical kind of teen soap melodrama, really. Just nothing behind any of the characters. I thought the acting was really bad as well. I think the lead girl, Sophia, I thought she was actually alright, the actress, but besides her, I thought the rest were all like cardboard cutouts, really. They all look kind of generic and pretty, but with no real kind of depth or emotion, not only to the characters but also like the actors as well. There was no real depth in the performances, and it's one of those where the drama like escalates at a ridiculous sort of rate. There's kind of things that happen and just develop without any sort of pacing, without any like much of a logic, or at least it doesn't get a proper build up. It's like you get this one event and then these other things spiral from it. And obviously this might appeal to some people, but to me even if you're judging it as a soap, I think there are better soaps. There's soaps with obviously better production values with better casts, because this does actually look really cheap. There's a couple of scenes where you have sort of flashbacks to certain events in the school, and those scenes just look really cheap and generic, kind of just hokey, sort of flashy type effects. I think you can tell this is really low budget, and when they have sequences like that, I think it is low budget in a bad sort of way. And yeah, it's a really forgettable and bland first episode, I think, of this, and it does not promise good things moving forward. So I'll just talk a little bit about some of what happens. So Sophia is set up basically as like this rebellious sort of character in the school, because we all get the kind of typical like groups and characters that you get in a lot of high school type dramas, and there's really nothing new here. That's the thing. They're all kind of archetypes of what you've seen before, but Sophia's like the rebellious one. She's one of the outcasts, and that's kind of her role. Then she basically knows the school, and we see this sort of setup scene in the first scene where she stands up for this kid who's being bullied. So it's at her locker basically. So I think she's kind of, I think she's pretending, and she's like just making a big deal because she wants to get to a locker, but in reality I think she's hiding. She uses that to hide the fact that she's actually a decent person, and wants to help this kid being bullied. So you get this group of bullies that we kind of see throughout the episode, and Sophia basically embarrassed them one by one by bringing up like their sort of like secrets, and it's just a way to shame them, to get them to move on. And that's kind of a setup for the thing, because of course you've got this plot of this hacker and their secrets, and the fact that Sophia's like investigating all this is, this kind of sets her up in a way, because she knows like these secrets about these students. But yeah, we get, as I said, standard sort of stereotypes, sort of these groups of characters. So you get this character, Nutella, who's sort of an outcast in her own, but she's like a more kind of sort of snobby sort of outcast, who Sophia says at one point she doesn't really like anyone in the school, but she hangs out with them just to fit in, to feel cool. So we see her hanging around this group, and she also has a sister who's the complete opposite. She's like the more outgoing one, and they're like friends with the Isabella character, who's like hooking up with like the popular jock type character. But it goes through these different characters, and we get a scene where Sophia is like on the roof of the school with Javier, the new kid, and she's just explaining all the different like characters, and explaining what's going to happen next. It's almost like this is the daily routine, and she lays it out. And just stuff like that scene, I think, is quite typical. Nothing really original going on there. And they tried to do this thing, I think, where Javier is in a similar boat to Sophia, where he's a bit of an outcast as well, but in a different sort of a way. He feels, I think, isolated, because it's revealed that he's like the son of like a famous football player. So then it's like he has to try and live up to that, and everyone in class, when that's revealed, actually wants to be his friend and want to be his like lab partner, but he actually gets paired up with Sophia, and unfortunately there's no chemistry between them. The actor playing Sophia is really, really bad. But as I said, they're aiming for this thing where, for different reasons, they both feel sort of out of the loop, because everyone expects him to be like his dad and to play football, to be this good sort of player, and he just wants a normal sort of life. He doesn't necessarily want to go with the flow and just repeat what his dad did. He wants to be his own person. But as I said, there's no chemistry between him and the actress playing Sophia, and he comes off as a little creepier, which obviously they didn't intend. But he keeps following her around, and I think they just sort of overdo that. Another problem with this episode is, and it seems typical of this sort of soap, they just hit you over the head with the melodramatic music. I mean, they kind of use some quite hip sort of pop or punk music, which is sort of fine, but it's not used in a very sort of like original, clever way. But you do get like the typical like tedious like soapy type piano music that comes in at one point, and that's really the norm, and it just shows you then this is very sort of low rent type drama. But the whole drama that's revealed, the whole like secrets when this hacker's like video is played in the assembly, is then Isabel has been hiding the fact that she was originally a boy, apparently, so she had a sex change, and her boyfriend was hiding the fact that he's apparently gay. So you get these two convenient, contrived plots, and it sets off like dramas within the group. So you kind of forget this subplot where Natalia is like jealous of Isabel. She appears to be jealous of her going out with the guy she's seeing, and also later on, because Natalia's sister like comforts Isabel because of this secret coming out, and seems like Natalia gets jealous over that as well, and so there's all this drama. It's the sort of thing where they're kind of aiming for like some big themes, some darker moments. So, for example, the guy who's like being bullied at the start, who Sophia saves, there's a later scene where he's like really bullied to an awful extent outside the school and just embarrassed. And there's actually one guy called Jerry who like sticks up for him, who's kind of with the bullies, but he's like more sensitive, and he kind of comes to his rescue without letting on, and it's because he's actually a decent guy. But they're sort of going for, I think, something a bit more like edgy there. The fact that this kid is like really bullied and really embarrassed, and he really has troubles handling this. I think the problem is then, just based on this first episode, that sort of thing, it's not going to be dealt with in a very like sort of light-handed or sensitive sort of way. So, I would be up for them dealing with it, but I'm not convinced these people are going to do it in a satisfying type way. And I think all the mini dramas are just really contrived and really like typical. So the episode sort of ends with someone like contacting Isabella and basically telling her that they know who the hacker was and who's responsible, and just laying out these different characters, people they know, and saying, hey, they're all involved. So I think the sort of like revelations in this episode anyway just isn't going to lead to very interesting drama, and the characters are really bland. There's just no depth to them at all. So I can't recommend it. It's pretty bad. I've seen worse, but this is pretty bad and forgettable. So that's my review of the pilot episode of Control Z or Control Z. Needless to say, I won't be reviewing anymore, but if you want to check it out, it is on Netflix now. And yeah, thanks for listening to this review, and I'll be back with more soon. Goodbye.